Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live. I just thought I would dial in this Sunday afternoon, especially because here in the UK, it's a bank holiday weekend, and just get to engage, answer some of your questions. Especially, I know for CISA, we haven't really had a chance to do a Q&A in a long time. It has been mainly ACCA focused for quite a while, but I just thought, you know what, it's important that we also cover CISA. We have quite a CISA following in this channel. So I just thought I would kick this off with some of the questions that you've been asking on my YouTube videos, but also if you do have a question, make sure to, of course, if you're tuned in, ask it live. I'll make sure to give you a shout out. But then also if you do watch this replay and you do have more questions, as you can tell, I'm going to be making this live streams a monthly thing. So there will be an opportunity to address your question in one of my future videos. So without further ado, because I also want to get moving with this weekend, and I want this to be a brief live stream and not too long, I'm just going to get started with some of the questions that were already asked in my videos. And then, of course, if you do have any question, make sure to flag. I'm dialing in from the West Midlands. Also, let me know where you're joining from. It would be good to just, see, engage where you're coming from, where you're joining us from. And yeah, let's engage, let's chat. I definitely want this to be a live and interactive session. But yeah, to kick things off, just to reiterate, if you've just joined, this is CISA related. But then, of course, feel free to ask your questions. You can make use of the time as much as you can. So in terms of the first question, so this was one that was asked against my CISA playlist. So it was to do with, did you get CISA without the 5-year experience requirement? So CISA has a 5-year working experience requirement. So this is in addition to the exam. So most people, when they do CISA, they do the exam. But then if you do want to actually get the full certification, you do need to have 5 years working experience. But I did not need to have 5 years working experience. I already had it because I did it when I was at my previous firm, when I was working as a technology risk consultant. So all my experience in that role was relevant. But there are waivers, especially when you go to apply, when you go to the ISACA website and you just check, basically explore CISA, just go to the CISA section and just look into CISA certification. You'll be able to see the requirements, the eligibility requirements. They just need you to have done your exam. In fact, that's something that I can probably share my screen because I'd literally opened that tab right before this live stream, but I do have a video that covers this in a lot of detail. So make sure to check out my CISA playlist. So if I just share, it will be easier to talk through when I'm sharing my screen. So it should be this one, yes. So if you go to the ISACA website, honestly, the ISACA website is where everything is. If you need to get resources, if you need to buy like question and manual online resources, the ISACA website is where everything is. So in terms of how to get CISA certified, you can see here you'd need to have passed the exam within 5 years. So if you do your exam today, you have up to 5 years from that day when you pass your exam to apply for the CISA certification. You need to have 5 years or more of experience, and that's where it's not just experience. There are some waivers that you can get up to 3 years. So if you do qualify for those waivers, then that's something that you can explore. You'll only need to have at least 2 years of experience in that case. So some of those waivers are things like, do you have a degree? And it can be just any degree. And with that, you get 2 years waiver. Are you ACCA qualified? So I know you'll see in some of the subsequent questions whether ACCA, someone who's done ACCA, should they do a CISA? In that case, you can see it is recognized as relevant experience because they recognize the amount of effort needed for you to become ACCA qualified. And also things like, have you worked in general audit? It doesn't have to be systems audit, but have you worked in general audit? Things like that. So you can see more details on the actual application form. So if you come on here where you're filling out the form and you download the application form, you'll be able to see in a lot of detail what it is that you need to fill out and it clearly calls out what are the requirements in each section. But generally, they'll want to see your work experience. They'll want to also your education experience, especially if you want to apply for a waiver. And then also when it comes to highlighting what experience you have, they'll essentially want to see is it in one or more of the domains? So the good thing with them, they don't need you to have experience in each of the CISA domains. They just need you to have experience in at least one of them. And especially if you're doing CISA, it's probably because you're looking into information security, or you're looking into systems audit, or you're just in the IT sector. You'll probably see the experience you have will most likely fall under one of those domains. Yeah. So just getting back into it, I'll go on to the next question that was asked on my playlist. But of course, if you do have any, the whole point of this live Q&A is to be able to get your questions on the go. So please make sure to put them in the comments, and I'll make sure to highlight. Yeah, so I can see here there's Nobukosi who looks like they had commented before the live started. So they're saying, I want to be online, but I have a question, please. Make sure to pop your question, even if it's after the fact. We'll see if we can include it in future videos. Then there is a comment here from Techie B. How long did it take for you to complete the CISA certification? Did you self-study? Quite a few questions. It's a loaded comment. So I'll just address one by one. So it took me about 6 months to prepare for the exam. And this was because I was doing it at my own pace. Normally, if you don't have a 9 to 5, if you're not having other commitments, you genuinely can prepare for the exam in 3 months. It's only one exam. It's not like ACCA where you have about 13 to do. It's just one exam, but it does take a bit of effort to read through, because I was using the study manual and the question and answer booklet from CISA. And you will quickly pick up that study manual is not user-friendly. It's literally like a manual. You know how you get a manual for your phone or another technical device? So it takes quite a bit to work through it, but you will see on some of my CISA videos, I do suggest how you probably want to go about it. You don't want to read from the first page to the last page. You probably want to focus on the heavier domains, the domains that will have most percentage in the exam, and just work through it that way. But yeah, it took me about 6 months. Did I self-study? Yes, I self-studied. So I worked through the study manual and the question booklet myself after hours. When I'm finished with work, I'll just at least an hour a day try and work through a topic or so, or a subtopic, because one topic, like there are only 5 topics in CISA and they're huge. Especially, you will see that last domain has the one to do with security. It's the longest one. It's the most dreadful one to get through. So yeah, it takes quite a bit of time. In what format are the questions? They are all multiple choice, which is good, but don't think that it's easy. It's not easy. It's just one of those exams. If you actually read for it, you will pass. But if you don't, you will not. It's not. Don't especially think that because I already work in this area, then I'll probably pass it. Maybe a way to gauge where you're at, you can do a mock paper first before you even start studying, because that question and answer booklet does have a mock exam. Use that to test where you're at, and you'll also see which topics are your weakest, and you can probably address it that way. Okay, I will go back to the questions, but thanks for that, Techie B. So going on to the next question, what can you recommend legit CISA exam dumps? So again, ISACA website is where everything is at, to be honest. Any resources you need, anything that you need when it comes to study material, I would recommend you check out ISACA website. I used not just paperback, they do have also online. So if you prefer to study online, then, and they will also have especially if you don't want to, you're not, self-study is not really a thing for you, they do have what we'd say like online classrooms that you just need to enroll for. You can see when the next one is, and you can enroll for that on the ISACA website. It's all to do with your budget. Of course, they cost money, so it depends on what budget you're working with. I will progress through to the next question that was on my YouTube videos. But of course, if a question pops up, if you've joined in because you wanted to ask a specific question, make sure to flag it and I will get to you. So on this one, The person was asking, they're essentially an LLB graduate, so they've done law and they're a diploma holder for cyber law, and they're working with an IT company since 2011. They're asking if they can do CISA. In fact, I think your best place, if you've done cyber law, you already have an idea of what it takes to do. You have an introduction to cybersecurity. So yes, anyone can do CISA. It's more so, what are your reasons for doing CISA? Are you doing it to boost your career? Are you doing it because you're switching roles, you're tired of what you've been doing, and you want to enter into the IT risk and control space? It really does depend on what your drivers are, but anyone, there is no requirement on having any prerequisites before you do the exam. The requirements only come through once you've done the exam. They need you to have at least a bit of work experience. So just think of your circumstances. Think of, if I do the exam within the next 5 years, will I have an opportunity to get exposure to at least one of those domains? So most people, like for me, I did it to legitimize my experience. So I was a tech risk consultant at that time. I'm not anymore. I'm now into strategy. Though, to be honest, I still think what I learned, CISA gave me a good foundation of IT. Like I thought I knew IT. When I did CISA is when I really knew IT. So it gives you a very good foundation, regardless of what job you end up going to after the fact. But for me, I did it mainly to legitimize my experience, because as a tech risk consultant, someone else could be doing normal audit. They're a financial auditor, and therefore they just want to now go into IT audit, which pays well. You'll know that it pays well. It pays better than financial audit. So in that case, those are their drivers, and they can probably use CISA to get into a project or an engagement that relates to IT or compliance audits, things like that. And that's just even from an audit perspective. You could be an IT professional, but you want to get into more like cyber security or things like that. This also legitimizes your experience. And there are many more certifications in this space. So just see, for example, the job roles that you're looking at, the one that you'd like to get into, are they asking for CISA? Is CISA good to have? In that case, then it makes sense to do it. But there are others like C-Risk, there's CISP, CISS, especially if you're going into information security. There's even CISM, certified information security manager. So all of these, they tend to give you still a foundation when it comes to IT, a good tech fundamentals foundation, but it's just up to you based on what applies best, or because it's an investment in yourself. So it's what makes sense, because you can't end up doing all of them. So it's just do the one that will actually benefit you the most. All right, I can see there are some more comments. Hi, Prince. Welcome to the live. Make sure to flag any questions. I think there's some more comments from you. So, Prince, you're saying, I want to do ACCA, my next journey. What do you suggest? I need to know all about ACCA. So I hope you have checked out my ACCA playlist. I walk through in detail how my journey was. I also self-studied for ACCA. So essentially with ACCA, you just have to start. Like sometimes when you over prepare, you will probably get anxious. You'll probably get um, discouraged sometimes. So sometimes some of these things you just have to go in and just stick it out. It really is a test of your endurance. And it really does just, you just have to decide, you know what, I'm going to do this, and if I start it, I'm going to finish it. Tends to be the case with a lot of certifications, especially if they're not like in your contract for work where they say you need to get qualified in the next 6 months. Most of the time, any certifications you do are in the side of desk thing. So you really just have to be disciplined. You have to be consistent, persistent, and you'll work through it. So check out my ACCA playlist. And also, if you are thinking about CISA, also check it out. They're very close to each other. ACCA, of course, is to become fully chartered financial accountant. And then CISA is to become a certified information systems auditor. So they're not far off from each other. Most of the time, you will interact with both. So just have a look, explore, and see which one works for you. And then I can see, Prince, you've asked, could you help me, please? How could I contact you? I need your guideline. So I will post my email in the chat. So please feel free to drop me an email if you have any specific questions or you want me to, just guide you on certain things. Just feel free to drop me an email and we can take it from there. Okay, so just going back to some of the other questions, I think I only have one more actually to cover through that. And unless there's any more questions from you, this will be a short one today. I on this one, the question was more around how long did it take you to prepare for it? It being CISA. I'm a graduate of cybersecurity and I want to prep and write this exam. So I think I'd kind of mentioned it earlier. It took me about 6 months, and that's because I was dragging my feet. To be honest, you can prepare for it in 3 months. So yeah, it really does depend on your circumstances. You know, how you study, you know how much time that you have. So, but it actually took me about 6 months. The fact that you're a graduate of cybersecurity, it might even take you shorter because these things won't be new to you. But please do not take it for granted. Do not go for that exam without preparing. You will fail. Like it's just one of those where you will fail. And I would, in terms of study tips, please do not also go through the study manual and think that you've gotten it and go to your exam. You need to do questions. And in fact, I would propose you start with a mock paper, do the mock paper, see how you perform. You'll most likely not get zero, you'll know at least something. But it will flag to you which are the topics that you need to focus on. Because, yeah, if you're working with an ideal situation, yes, work through the study manual from the first page to the last page. But if your schedule is anything like mine, you probably want to work smarter. And in event that you're not able to cover the full study manual, at least you've covered enough to make you pass. So I would say definitely do a mock paper, test, see what topics are your worst in, your weakest. Start with those topics, and also you'll see the domains, the 5 domains for CISA. We have different weighting. There are some topics with higher weighting than others. You probably want to make sure that your foundation is really good in the heavier topics. And then for the other ones, you can do more of a light touch depending on what timelines you're working with, what deadline you're working towards. Of course, the ideal is to make sure you cover everything. But yeah, let me see if we have any more comments. You're welcome, Prince. Thanks for joining. I will give another minute or so to see if anyone has any other questions. But otherwise, everyone can get back to enjoying your Sunday. Here in the UK, we have a bank holiday tomorrow. So it's going to be one of those long weekends, which is great. The weather is also great. I don't know how the weather is where you're at, but hopefully you're enjoying your Sunday afternoon and you're having a nice chilled one preparing for the week ahead. But yeah, thank you all for joining. And if you do have any questions that weren't addressed in this live, please, please, please put them in the comment section. Email me. I do check my comments and I do check my emails. As much as maybe I don't respond right away, they will at least at some point form part of some of my future videos because I do want you to watch the videos that actually add value to you, something that you look forward to and you can see, okay, that actually helped me. So please engage, please let me know what you'd like to see next. And yeah, watch out for my next video. Bye.